The former U.S. District Attorney of Washington, D.C. announced he's seen enough evidence to start grand juries, and Obama should be the first one they go after. I'll explain why. President Trump closes a huge deal with the country of Japan that will create hundreds of thousands of good-paying jobs right here in the States. Republican senators are doing everything they can to help Democrats and the deep state do their job. For example, Tom Cotton has just put forward new legislation to block Tulsi Gabbard from sharing the truth about Barack Obama. And I think this community should call his office over and over again, telling him to drop this bad legislation and let Tulsi Gabbard do her job, or we aren't voting for you. Lastly, a damning new document puts Obama right at the center of the Russia hoax. I'll be sharing all of that and more in today's video. Thank you guys so much for liking and sharing this video. Let's jump right in. President Trump unveiled a landmark trade agreement with Japan, calling it perhaps the largest deal ever made. In a post on Truth Social, Trump stated, "We just completed a massive deal with Japan, perhaps the largest deal ever made. Japan will invest at my direction $550 billion into the United States, which will receive 90% of the profits. This deal will create hundreds of thousands of American jobs. There has never been anything like it. Perhaps most importantly, Japan will open their country to trade, including cars and trucks, rice, other agricultural goods, and other things. Japan will pay a reciprocal tariff to the United States of 15%. This is a very exciting time for the United States of America, especially for the fact that we will continue to have a good relationship with Japan," says President Trump. Now, the breakthrough comes after the U.S. threatened 25% tariffs on Japanese exports, including many things that Americans rely on that Japan would not want to lose access to American markets. At first, the Prime Minister of Japan, Ishiba Shiguru, called this deeply regrettable. However, now he says he is poised to work with Trump and the United States to supercharge our economies. Senator Tom Cotton, a Republican from Arkansas, is reportedly attempting to limit Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard's authority to release declassified documents alleging Obama's interference in the 2016 presidential election. Gabbard claims officials manipulated intelligence to undermine President Trump's victory, calling it a conspiracy, a treasonous conspiracy. Senator Cotton, who is the chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, has proposed legislation to cut the office of the Director of National Intelligence workforce by 60%, weakening Tulsi Gabbard's role. Critics argue this move protects entrenched interests, while supporters of Gabbard view it as an effort to suppress evidence of misconduct. Cotton's actions have sparked debate about transparency and accountability. Now, if you're against this, you might want to Google Senator Tom Cotton's office phone number and call and respectfully tell him to drop this, allow Tulsi Gabbard to do her job. The Department of Justice has announced an upcoming meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell, who's currently serving a 20-year sentence for helping traffic underage girls to Jeffrey Epstein. Attorney General Pam Bondi released that Maxwell is interested in discussing her story and those involved with Congress. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said the DOJ remains committed to pursuing justice and referenced a joint DOJ-FBI statement which claimed there is no evidence in the FBI file to justify charging any unindicted third parties of the Epstein case. Blanche also confirmed that under President Trump's order, the DOJ is working to release all credible information, including anything that Ghislaine Maxwell shares with Congress. Notably, Todd Blanchett pointed out that no previous administration had ever asked Ghislaine Maxwell if she'd be willing to cooperate with the government. Maxwell's brother told Piers Morgan in an exclusive interview that the government has never once approached Ghislaine about telling her story or naming names for those involved. While this plays out, President Trump has urged the Department of Justice to take action against former President Barack Obama over the Trump-Russia collusion narrative. Trump says he is guilty and he has committed treason. President Trump claims Obama himself orchestrated the hoax, implicates Joe Biden, James Comey, James Clapper, and others based on newly declassified documents. Those documents released by Director Tulsi Gabbard allege that officials from the Obama administration fabricated and politicized U.S. intelligence, including the Steele dossier, to falsely frame Trump as a Russian agent interfering in the 2016 election on behalf of Hillary Clinton. Tulsi Gabbard filed a criminal referral to the DOJ, saying that Obama usurped President Trump's authority and sought to subvert the will of the American voter. She called it a treasonous conspiracy. Now, backing her allegations, Gabbard released more than 100 documents, and more are to come, including one I'm going to show you later this video. Meanwhile, Senate Judiciary Committee Chuck Grassley announced plans to release declassified documents from 2018's DOJ Inspector General report related to the Hillary Clinton email investigation. House Speaker Mike Johnson indicated that Congress may subpoena Obama over the alleged coordinated effort between his administration and U.S. intelligence. Also, the document coming out from Senator Chuck Grassley shows that the FBI purposely ignored the Hillary Clinton email scandal in order to put focus on the fake Russia-Trump scandal. So pretty wild. All right, now let me have you guys listen to what Tulsi Gabbard had to say about this in an updated video out just last night.
We will be releasing further documents tomorrow that will refute that statement. And I would go back and point to, and we will be pulling a whole host of statements that were made by the Obama administration, by Hillary Clinton, by senior Democrat officials, by their friends in the media that state over and over again after this January 2017 manufactured intelligence document was created that repeat the narrative. And I'm looking at my notes here. New York Times says Russian hackers acted to aid Trump in the election. Obama's CIA Director John Brennan says there is strong consensus among us to support the CIA claim Russian hackers aided Donald Trump's election. Hillary Clinton said, I would be president if not for the Russian hackers supporting Donald Trump. So there is a vast body of evidence and intelligence that debunks and refutes this statement you've just read and others coming from some of the Democrat leaders in Congress today.
All right. Now, President Barack Obama has finally responded and said Trump's claims are ridiculous, that this has already been debunked, that it's beneath his office to even respond, but that he must. And then his response was, all of this is a distraction from the fact that Donald Trump is connected to Jeffrey Epstein. So Trump warned us, saying, do not dig into the Epstein stuff because Democrats are going to use it as a weapon to distract MAGA voters from what really matters. The fact that Obama committed this treasonous act, the fact that the 2020 election was stolen, all the COVID cover-up. So Trump wants to focus on all of that, but he is doing all he can, as I've been sharing with you, to bring information to the forefront about what's really going on. Now, Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna said, as soon as we return from break, I'll be calling for a subpoena for Comey, Brennan, and Clapper to basically testify about the fraudulent Russia hoax. She says, retain your attorneys now and start raising money because you're going to need it. Now, Congressman James Comer said, as soon as the letter request to subpoena these three men comes in, he will immediately sign it, and those subpoenas will be sent out. So this is really a massive deal, and I'll continue to keep you updated on that. All right, now I have some really big news, including evidence and the former district attorney of Washington, D.C., and what he had to say. But first, our sponsor. If you're a homeowner, you need to listen to this. In today's AI and cyber world, scammers are stealing home titles, and your equity is the target. Here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature on one document, use a fake notary stamp, pay a small fee with your county recorder, and just like that, your home title has been transferred out of your name. Then they take out loans using your equity or even sell your property, and you don't know it's happened until you get a collection or foreclosure notice. So when's the last time you checked your home's title? If your answer is never, you need to do something about it right now. That's why I've partnered with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim. Use my promo code Gardner at HometitleLock.com, and you'll get a free title history report and a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring on your title, urgent alerts to any changes, and if fraud does happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. Go to HometitleLock.com and use promo code Gardner. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code Gardner. Former U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C., Joe DiGenova, says former President Barack Obama should be the first one put through a grand jury and the first one arrested based on what he has seen. Then work your way down, which is the opposite of what you would normally think or do in a massive case like this. But with this kind of charge and the situation, they should go after the big names first. Now, I'm going to pull up exactly what he said because he says it obviously much better than I could, but let's go ahead and listen to this together.
There'll be a grand jury. There should be a grand jury in the Southern District of Florida, a special grand jury to investigate this, where all these people can come and testify or take the fifth. Barack Obama, James Brennan, John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey, everybody, Lisa Monaco, they'll all be going to Florida. That's where this grand jury is going to be. I predict there will be a grand jury in Florida in the not too distant future. That's how you create accountability through the criminal justice system. Congress can hold hearings. That's wonderful. I'm all for it. But nobody gets punished in a congressional hearing. This conspiracy against President Trump deserves punishment, not just a lecture. People need to go to prison.
So if you're running this investigation, how do you start? Do you start top down, bottom up? You start with the, with the least protected and go after that person and work your way up the ladder? Or do you start with President Obama and work your way down? How do you go about this?
Well, you're going to need about 10 prosecutors and about 25 FBI agents. You have to send out a number of subpoenas for telephone records, email records, text messages, because I can assure you that all these people are destroying paper records right now. But they cannot destroy the electronic records because they exist in the cloud, and they'll never be able to get rid of those. You start bringing in, and by the way, you ask a very important question. Ordinarily, in an investigation like this, you start at the bottom and work up. In this situation, where we have such incredibly credible evidence that evidence against the people at the top, that you may very well start your grand jury investigation with the former president of the United States, the vice president, the attorney general, Loretta Lynch, Sally Yates, who was the deputy attorney general, a number of key influence makers, because they're going to have to make their decisions very quickly. And each of them knows that if they don't tell the truth, they're going to be indicted for perjury. It's not even a close call. These people are not going to get away with this.
These people are not going to get away with this. So that's the former U.S. District Attorney for Washington, D.C. He's saying, haul them in, force them to testify, do it in Florida, and we will get the truth. But he said, I predict right now, every single person that is in the media accused by Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel, the media, President Trump, they're all destroying evidence right now. So you got to immediately get them in, get them with attorneys, force them to talk, and go after all of the digital assets. So that is a really good piece of advice, and also very interesting. All right, now let me show you something here. Clandestine over on X says, holy blank, it's a smoking gun. The IC concluded that Obama himself ordered the new assessment, and it was abnormally handled by Obama's intelligence heads and just 5 selected CIA analysts. This is the proof that Obama made the call himself. Obama created Russiagate, treason. Now, award-winning journalist Catherine Herridge said declassified records via Tulsi Gabbard make the case that the 2017 intelligence community assessment was ordered by and subject to unusual directive from President Obama. Draft not properly coordinated with IC components, purposely deviated from professional standards to ensure publication without significant challenges to the conclusion. Now, let me see if I can zoom in here. Nope, doesn't look like it. But let me go ahead and read this to you. It says, order by the president directed by the senior IC agency heads and created by just 5 CIA analysts using 1 principal drafter. Production of the ICA was subject to unusual directive from the president and senior political appointees, and particularly DCIA. The draft was not properly coordinated within CIA or IC, ensuring it would be published without significant challenge to its conclusions. So essentially, Obama and 5 of the top people at the CIA got together. They did something completely unusual. This should have been a field assignment. Instead, the top people closest to Obama and Obama, they drafted all of this and then released it in such a way that it would avoid publication the normal way. So again, this is a smoking gun. I can see why the former U.S. District Attorney, Joe DiGenova, is saying Barack Obama is dead to rights guilty, and he should be the first one put in front of a grand jury, and he's probably the one that they probably have the most evidence on. Now, again, this is a really big deal, and I will continue to bring you information about this. Now, I want to show a clip. A lot of people have been worried that, like tradition, that Trump is in, he's a Republican. Republicans have the Senate and the House right now. That usually flips. However, NBC's analysts have put out that it is likely that they will actually keep Congress, and he lays out why. Let me go ahead and show that to you.
News national political correspondent Steve Kornacki is at the big board. So, Steve, break down what makes 2026 different than 2018.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Ryan, because when you look at the bottom line numbers, that's what you have on the screen right now, the balance of power in the House, 4 vacancies. Essentially, if these vacancies were filled, it would probably be 220 Republican seats, 215 Democratic seats. As thin a majority as you could get for Republicans. That means if Republicans take that majority into the midterms next year, they can afford a net loss of no more than 2 seats. And you know the history of midterms. The White House party almost always loses seats. You mentioned 2018 when Republicans lost 40 seats in Donald Trump's first midterm. So how could he actually be in a position where we're talking about the House being in play next year, at least potentially? Well, it's because the makeup of that Republican majority that got decimated in 2018 is very different from the makeup of the Republican majority right now. And that's what we want to show you right here. Republicans in 2018 were exposed all over the place. Check this out here. Republicans in 2018 in districts that had been carried by Hillary Clinton in the 2016 presidential election, anti-Trump districts, there were 25 of them in the 2018 midterms. There are only 3 Republicans right now representing districts that Donald Trump didn't carry in the last presidential election. How about the next rung here? Call these sort of marginally pro-Trump districts. These are districts that Trump won by less than 7.5 points.
Okay, so in a nutshell, what this analyst at NBC News is saying is, unlike in 2018, where the majority of seats that the GOP lost were actually in areas that Hillary Clinton won. So they were actually really weak in those areas. He's now saying the Trump MAGA people that won those areas, they're extremely strong. And those districts are super pro-Trump. And the other areas, they'll probably maybe lose a couple, but they'll retain the House. He didn't go into details on the Senate, but it does look like we're not going to lose 40 seats. If they did lose for some stupid reason, it would just be by a couple of seats, but it does look like there is a real opportunity for Republicans to keep the House of Representatives. Yesterday, Democrat judges coordinated at the request of Congressman Hakeem Jeffries to remove acting U.S. District Attorney Alina Habba as New Jersey's district attorney. So Pam Bondi at the Attorney General's office at the Department of Justice removed the newly appointed Desiree Grace immediately, like within minutes of these Democrat judges that were taking orders from Hakeem Jeffries. They removed their vote, Desiree Grace. Habba only had 120 days as an interim to serve, and she did a really great job. It was expected that she would stay on. Instead, there was this coup d'etat led by Hakeem Jeffries of New York over the people that he has influence in New Jersey. I think this should be looked into. Why is a senator in New York able to have such control and influence over 17 judges in the state of New Jersey? Seems very, very politically motivated, but then again, everything is today. So this is going to be looked at and reviewed. So far, she is out, but they are trying to control who gets in. All right. For those of you who liked Ozzy Osbourne of Black Sabbath, he died suddenly at age 76. He'd been dealing with advanced Parkinson's and died surrounded by family. Now, not long ago, he was able to do one last tour with 40,000 fans where he performed on stage with Metallica, Guns N' Roses, and others. Many are very sad to see their singer go. I liked a couple of his songs, not personally something that I am too heartbroken about, but wanted to let you know about his passing. In international news, a third round of peace talks between Ukraine and Russian officials is set to take place in Turkey, though the date has not been established. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced during Monday's address that the meeting is scheduled for today. However, Russia says we're not ready for the Wednesday meeting. Russia's state-run news agency, TASS, cited a source that talks would happen on Thursday in Istanbul. So I don't know when they're going to happen. I hope this thing will come to an end. So far, it doesn't look like it is. However, there was a massive protest in Kiev outside of the president's office where Ukrainians for the first time are protesting in large numbers for Zelensky to step down or to end the war so that Ukraine can return to peace and rebuild its culture and its nation. I'll let you know if that ends up happening. All right, thank you guys so much. We're probably going to cross 2 million amazing truth seekers. I love all of you. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel and allowing me to be a source of truth and news for you and your family. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, give this video a like so YouTube and Rumble will share it with others. I love you. Stay amazing, and I will see you on the next video.